All right, I'm going to cut that tree down there. As you can see, the trees, like, I'm going to stand behind this tree in a minute. But you can see that tree there's leaning right. So we know the tree's going to go right. I've just cut this other tree down here. A couple other bits. Just set your clock buster down. I've got a couple of wedges too. Wedges down there. Had to do a bit of a risky move, didn't you know? Had to cut that thing off first because the swing was leaning back this way. So then I already cut the branch off here. I've just cut that up. So what we'll do is, because this tree, we're going to cut a front in it down here. See where it joins? Cut a front up here, cut it on an angle down here. So I'll show you how to do that. As you can see, the front on the tree, what I just cut, it was really stuffed up at the front because it had that other tree that was growing out of it. But that's what you've got to be careful of. Cut it down. And also look up at them trees up here, because them trees will grab them branches and stuff when it comes down and end up smacking you in the head. So always make sure you look up at the trees. If you don't look up at the trees, like as you can see, you know, bits of branches and that. I mean, one of these could have a dead limb on them, and when you cut it down, it could end up hitting you in the head and doing some serious damage. So make sure you look up before you cut the trees down too. If you're not really experienced cutting trees down, I wouldn't advise people to go and do it, because you don't go hurt yourself. We're out of fuel in that chainsaw, but that's all right though. I've got another one. it's sitting right there behind this tree. What I think I'll do is, I think I'll sit this chainsaw over on this other tree here. Sit it like this, or I could sit it on the ground behind it. Just be careful when the exhaust is hot and that, wherever you sit the chainsaw down, because when it's hot, like obviously it's been raining here and it's damp, and if it was really dry and the muffler was on the ground, it was really hot, the exhaust, it could start a fire. So that's the front I cut on all the trees like this. I like to cut big fronts too. And I'll get this other chainsaw going. They're both Husqvarna 288s, these are, and they're running 24-inch bars with 404 chains on them. So we'll cut this next tree down. I've got this tree here. Got a tree right here we'll cut down. Now we've got our branches leaning, and we've got a bit of wind too. So we've got to be very careful what we do. I do have wedges here. As you can see with this tree, it's leaning that way, so the tree's going to go that way. But you can always take the wedges with you, and you always carry a couple. You can see I hit one here yesterday. I didn't film when I cut the tree down. It was a pretty big tree. It was actually over there, and the wind was up a bit, and I decided I'd get some wedges and use them, and the tree was sort of hanging up a little bit, and I put this chainsaw back in it. So what we'll do is this one, put our front in it, make sure we know where it's going to go. Exactly. It's going to just miss that tree there. So we're going to go straight across. So put our front in front, come in the back, and cut it here. wedges, obviously, I'll turn the chainsaw off for a minute. The reason why you put this front in them like this is because if you go to cut that tree down, you don't put no front in enough in it. What will happen if you go through with your chainsaw? Not only will your chainsaw jam, but when you go through it, you might go all the way through it, and then you pull your chainsaw out. Instead of the tree going this way, it could come straight back at you, or it could wobble around on the actual block of the tree and do some serious damage. It could even kill you if you're not careful. What you do is once you put a front in like that, and you got your chainsaw in like these smaller trees, believe it or not, are more dangerous than a bigger tree, because when you cut the smaller ones down, they fall fast, and you know they're unpredictable. The wind can grab them, they can twist around, and a real nightmare can happen. But what you do is, when you go to wedge your tree, when you put a cut in it, say you got your chainsaw's already, halfway through it. Whoops, your wedge. All you have to do is put your wedge in the back of it, like this, and bash them in. You can bash in two. Just bash in two wedges like that. And once they're stuck in the tree, you can finish cutting it, like, keep on going in a bit more. And you can pull the chainsaw out the side here. Bloody wedges are going to stay in there. Yeah, once you've got your wedges in there like that, it's going to stay there. You can, when you're cutting it through, you can pull your chainsaw out here, and you can go around with your blockbuster or an axe, and you can keep bashing them wedges which way the tree's going to go. If you're at home and the wind gets up, the tree could go completely back towards you and then through your house and do a lot of damage. So yeah, that's how I put fronts in them, just like that, and you can see how they work on the tree down there. And I like to put it nice and big. I've seen other people where they'll put a front in it, and they'll come back and they'll cut the front in the tree exactly in line with this. I don't like that idea. This way, when the tree goes, it can't kick back in your face. So as literally when the tree's fallen like this, it can't come straight back the trunk, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's impossible for the tree to come back. Like when you look at this, it can't. It's got all this stopper in here, which is still on the tree, so that's why it can't come back. I'm not going to film cutting any more of this stuff up. What I'll do is, when I go to cut another tree down, I'll bring this back, because I can't keep on cutting trees down and just leaving them on top of each other. They're just so hard to handle when they're like that, and you're just walking and tripping over everything. Oh, it's a real nightmare. So I'll continue to cut all this stuff up, and you just seen a branch just come off that tree there where it hit it. But a lot of accidents that come from branches like this, off these trees up here, where a tree's touching another tree and it snaps off, and that will actually hit you in the head. So that's why I always wear this. I've only ever been hit in the head once with a branch, and the branch was only probably about, it probably wasn't even this big, I don't reckon. It was probably only about that big. It wasn't a real big branch, and it was only probably about 5 metres up. And I can tell you what, when it hit me in the head, it felt like someone hit me in the head with a hammer. So, it did bloody hurt. And that's just the, you'll get one of them every now and again, like. And it was only a small tree like this too. Like this one here. I cut a tree down like that, and there was another one behind it. And the actual tree branch broke off the tree I was cutting down as it was falling, and the branch fell down and hit me on the head. So that's just a thing to be cautious of. But yeah, I don't stress enough that if you got trees at your house and you want to remove them, and you think, I want to save a few bucks, get a professional in, don't go trying to tempt it, because most professionals, they're called arborists, and they'll actually take, pieces of wood size off at a time. So there's no way the tree can fall into your house. They'll cut down pieces all the way down until the bottom. And that's the safest way to remove them when they're over your house, and that you can't just take risks, because, And don't park your vehicle anywhere near where you're cutting this stuff down too. And make sure you got your chainsaws, like, you know, how I've got this over here hiding behind the tree. Because if that falls over, that could land on my chainsaw and smash that up. So it's just common sense. But anyway, I'll get back to cutting this. And once I've cut this, these 2 trees up here, and I'm going to cut another one down. Alright, I'm going to cut this tree down. As you can see, it's leaning this way. That way there. So we know which way it's going to go. So let's cut this down and get this cut up. I've already cut all that wood up over there. What you see, cut the trees in and cut it all up. See that or not? Might be able to see it in the back. Stuff. Alright, I'm going to cut this one. Now, you don't have to put a front in these trees. I'll show you what there was another thing I was going to touch on too, is when you're actually cutting this stuff up, cutting trees down that, make sure you always got plenty of petrol in your chainsaw. Forgot to say that earlier. Make sure you're always using a full tank of petrol. You don't go cutting the tree halfway down, you run out of petrol. Then you're taking your eyes off the tree. Then you're going back to your vehicle where you got your petrol can, you're filling up your chainsaw. I mean, the wind could swirl around and the tree could fall, especially if you're not even looking when your back's turned. Could end up landing on you and even killing you. So always make sure you got plenty of petrol in your chainsaw before you go cutting stuff down. It's just common sense. And yeah, I've got to start splitting this wood now. Bring my vehicle over here and start loading up. I've got to clean some of this mess up too, because I've got a bit of a mess going on. Like in the bushes here it's alright, but I've got a little bit on the outside, a little bit over here. I've got to clean off the paddock. I don't want to go leaving a mess, I'll just pile it up in the heat. That way it can dry out sometime, it can be burnt. But yeah, I want to get back to another tree. I'll switch it on and give you a look at that. Alright, this is our next tree we're cutting down. We've got a wind that's coming crossways. So what we do is you've got branches leaning this way. So we'll come around here, look at the tree. The tree's going to go straight that way in this gap. Sort of going to go over to that way a little bit, but it's got branches that side and this side. So let's get it cut down because the wind's getting up a bit. just sit that down for a minute and I'll explain something to you. When you're actually trimming these branches off here, you've got to be careful, because when they've got higher branches like that, you don't want to be standing over that side cutting them down, because if that tree rolls over, it could roll on you. So if you're cutting these pieces off here, I'll cut this off and I'll work my way back up, and I'll carefully watch the tree, even though it's got a piece in the ground over here. You can see it. There's another piece of wood, big piece of wood where it's supporting, and I'll chop all this up into bits of wood as I'm going, and I will chop off that head piece once I come along here. If you wanted to chop it off now, you could. I could chop it off to get out of the way so it won't land on you or anything. I could run the chainsaw through it right here. Just put a cut underneath it and one in the top so your chainsaw don't get jammed. Because that stuff on the top there doesn't look like it's real heavy, this head of the tree, but it is. So if you cut the tree up, like another side piece of wood, and it rolls over, that could squash you. And could do some serious damage, so you've got to be careful of that. And yeah, that's how I put fronts in the tree. When I cut all this wood up, once I get all this wood cut up, see that front was pretty big. It didn't have to be that high up, but I always like putting them up there. I'm not really worried about the little bit of wood what you leave. Plus you can see them when you're driving round too, when you leave them like that. But that's just to stop the tree from kicking back. And once I get this all cut up and I'll get the wood split, I'll actually show you what this ute and trailer looks like, what I've got loaded up full of wood. It's taken me about, 3.5, 4 hours to do. And yeah, I'll show you that once I do this. So I'm not saying this is the right way or the wrong way. Do it however you want. But yeah. Once I split it, I'll show you the load. Alright, got all the wood loaded up. Ute and trail. I think it's like about six trees cut up. The trail is the size of a ute tree. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, share, comment.